Okay, with that, we bring in Ben Shapiro, host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Ben, good to have you with us today. Your reaction to this MOU that we've all had a look at now, at least where it stands now, could be a little different when the signing happens, and also to what the president had to say there, Ben.
Well, I've said many times, the president deciding to go into Iran and to hit nuclear facilities in Operation Midnight Hammer, and then to go after Iran's ballistic missile facilities and nuclear facilities, Army, Navy, and Air Force in this current operation was the signal act of political bravery, perhaps, of my lifetime. With that said, this MOU appears to be, just from the text, a disaster that does not achieve any of the actual signal goals that were set by the administration at the beginning. There were effectively 5 goals that were set by the administration at the beginning. One was ending the nuclear program, not just nuclear weapons, no nuclear enrichment, zero enrichment. That is not in the deal. Ballistic missiles ended. That is not in the deal. And the president today suggested that ballistic missiles should actually continue to be held by the Iranians because the Saudis, our allies, also hold ballistic missiles. Then you have the support of terrorism. That is not part of the deal. Anything that looks like an attempt to end terrorism. A permanent opening of the Strait of Hormuz toll-free. Not only is that not in the deal appears to have a provision allowing Iran and Oman to attempt to toll the straits after 60 days. And then finally, the idea that Iran would receive some sort of sanctions relief after all of those things happen. We are already seeing from day one relief in their ability to ship oil out of Iran. In my opinion, the vice president of the United States, the chief negotiator on this particular project, has not well served the president.
So just to clarify, the president was asked about the missiles. He said not ballistic, the other kind of missiles. We're going to hear more detail on that because obviously that's a huge question here. It was one of the things that was missing in the JCPOA, any control of the Iranian missile program. So we'll look for more detail on that. Here's the president talking about what he sees as an overly aggressive posture from Israel in Lebanon in the recent part of this war. Watch this.
In all fairness to Bibi Netanyahu, who happens to be a good man, gets a little excited sometimes. We have a little dispute over Lebanon. I say, you can do a little softer touch, Bibi. You don't have to knock down a building every time somebody walks into it that's from Hezbollah. But it's been an amazing partnership. But he will say, we're the big partner and he's the very small partner, and that's true.
Your thoughts on that, Ben?
The fact is that the president himself has suggested that Israel has a right to defend itself. Ambassador Huckabee, our ambassador to Israel, has said that Israel has a right to defend itself. Hezbollah is a terrorist group. It is not the government of Lebanon, and in fact is opposed to the government of Lebanon. And they've been firing ordnance over the border at Israel for literally years at this point. The idea that Israel should be held back from defending itself against a terror group that is a proxy army of Iran because we have some sort of deal over the Strait of Hormuz is a massive tactical blunder that gives Iran one of the things that Iran actually wants, which is to reconstitute its forward operating base in Lebanon. And anything that allows them to reconstitute their terror army would be a huge regional mistake.
All right. Ben Shapiro, thank you very much for weighing in today and joining us. It's always good to have you with us. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.